Hello and good afternoon. You're watching the Policy Times, world's first and only media which is working on development and policy and progress. So we term ourselves as a media promoting development journalism through policy and progress. Now, among all the programs that we are doing, Unleashing India Global Web Summit series led by Dr.P.Sekhar, who is also chairman of Unleashing India and Global Smart City Panel, an author, an anchor, and a policy influencer, and a global thought leader. Now, under this series, we have been extremely grateful and honored to have the visionaries and global personalities sharing their thoughts, their views on this. And we, as a development media, has been really be able to make an impact or influence through this activity to reach out to the common mass and the policymakers. So policy times, may not be as so simple and easy for common man to understand the things or development paradigms that we discuss, but we try to reach to as many people and influence them to understand the policy issues. So in short, what we say that it is not about what nation wants to know, it is about what nation need to know and what nations should know to set the path of development. Now, this is given this background. India and Japan, these two countries share a lot of things and they are unique in themselves. About India, Dr. Sekhar will briefly brief shortly. About Japan, what we understand, and today we will know more. It is a miracle. The country has not only been blessed with some of the gifts of the world, but it has also been devastated by many of the human or man-made disasters. But this is an iconic example of how whatever devastation comes, a nation, if all principles are right, can come back and thrive back. There is no better country in the world than Japan to show the world the second important. This is the first that they can come back again and again, and not only come back, they come back with the best. The second important lessons that I have learned from Japan is it is not all about the revenge. There are a lot of things we can teach to the world after the World War II. Japan could have been a different country, but Japan became a complete different country. And right now I'm going to show a video why I say it is not about revenge is because now Japan teaches to every kid how to be a good citizen, a good human being. And that is the biggest gift that Japan has. Now, given India's potential and the potential of Japan, there is enormous potential of collaboration and joint progress, especially post-pandemic, given the global challenges as well as our bilateral issues. I think a balanced Indo-Japan marriage or collaboration will be absolutely sought after phenomena post-pandemic. I'll just run this small video, Dr. Sekhar,
Yeah.
and then I'll hand it over to you because this is one of the best things to portray.
This car stops for kids who want to cross the street, and as a way of saying thank you, watch what they do next. This is what you call respect. This might be a rare sight for most of the world, especially from children this age, but not in Japan. Here, even if they're in a hurry, they never forget to pay respect. Japanese kids are even polite to machines. And in the world where there is too much rudeness, Project Nightfall needs to investigate how the hell Japanese kids are different from the rest of the world. Well, first of all, while most schools teach only academic knowledge, in Japan, children are being also taught good manners. Not kidding. In Japan, parents don't escort their kids to school. And once they reach the school, they are taught how not to be spoiled by serving their own food, doing the dishes, cleaning their mess. What's crazy about it is that it's so effective that in many Japanese schools, there are no janitors. No janitors because the children are the janitors. And once that young kid is back home, politeness doesn't stop. Just look at this adorable little girl who offers her mother help by buying stuff from the store alone. And on the way to the store, she even knows exactly how to recycle trash. What a beautiful side of good manners. A result of a system and tradition that in Japan people practice for more than 60 years now. What you're looking at now is an amazing example of good manners taught from young age. Impressive good manners in a huge country. After all, Japan's population is 126 million people, and yet it's considered one of the most disciplined, organized, and cleanest countries. They also have one of the lowest crime rates in the world. And all of this is a proof that no one is born rude or aggressive. Most often, bad behavior is being taught at the level of home, at the level of school, and even at the level of the whole country. And so as we look at these children being so nice, as we look at these adults living in unity, acting so politely, I hope you can help me share this video to send an important message that if we want our children to grow into selfless, loving, kind, and responsible people that we can be proud of, it all starts with us.
Thank you. I think this was the message that I wanted to convey. So over to Dr. Sekhar to take it forward.
Thank you. Today is the 121st Web Summit. What I will do is I will introduce the two speakers. While introducing, I will just rush through some small facts and figures so that we are on the same wavelength in terms of Japan-India relationship and in terms of what to expect from such an august speakers and who are all highly experienced, who all have done something immense good for their own country, one from India, one from Japan, and for Indo-Japanese relation. Especially Mr. Ranganathan has done huge work for Indo-Japanese relationship. Mr. Kashiwagi, the second speaker, the first speaker whom I'll introduce in a few minutes' time, he's also done huge work for Japan, and also he's a big fan of India and doing very good work for India. Now, we are talking of post-war devastation. There are a few words of this which may be of interest to all of us. One is, when we say post-COVID, we are talking of last year. We are not talking of anything COVID to end. Second is the word devastation. Okay. Now, like Akram said, no country could have been more devastated than Japan. With the way the nuclear holocaust took place, so many things had got destroyed. They were down in a war, and then they are back with a bang as one of the best countries in the world. So there's a lot of things to learn for India and every country, and a lot of things to do things together with them. Japan, India has got such a good relationship. And see, the video showed what is the way the children are there. And Japanese are basically Buddhists, and Buddhism comes from India. And that means some teaching of our own thing, maybe Indians have lost track and Japanese have got more hang of this. So now to say that rest all, I will only say some few slides which I will take care. Rest all slides I will rush through. This is for overview of India and Japan. India and Japan have got certain things similar, certain things absolutely quite different. But both countries work together. Both countries want to work together. Same thing on COVID. Both countries have got minimized, impact of COVID, but maximized impact on geopolitical, healthcare systems and all. And but we have to live with it. We have to see that what to do post COVID. As we all know, that Japanese are basically Buddhists, and that Buddhism comes from India, and so we got a good close tie-up. A relationship which is something which is good for both the countries to go together. And research and development, Japan is very good and Indians are very good, but they are good in taking thought leadership. They are good in developing final end-to-end perfect product, which I don't think India can claim its legacy as on date. Okay. So again, next many slides I'll just rush through. These are all for technology, for collaboration in education, for academic partnerships, which many things are going on, but 10 times more can happen. Because the whole world is looking at Japan-India collaboration Even Europeans say if Japan and India collaborate, even products coming from Japan, which is generally considered to be very good, but at the same time very costly, unaffordable. That affordability can come when it is rooted through India, because India has also got huge R&D facilities and people with multi-talented capabilities. So even a lot of student exchange programs are going on, in which Mr. Ranganathan, the second speaker, is having huge, immense work. So let me just quickly hand over to our speakers. Last one, of course, is Mumbai Ahmedabad bullet train corridor is along with Japan, and many things of very good the initiatives are there between India and Japan. And so I will directly go to the speaker's introduction. These are all available for anybody to look at it. Now, secured governance is self-sustained growth of economy by which the money put in by any establishment is safe. It's 100% safe. That's what secured governance does. Secured governance is a doctrine in which through convergence of multiple sectors, taking advantage of hidden potential, taking advantage of value valuation, a self-sustained economy is grown. A lot of very large projects are going on, which will be good for this Indo-Japanese, collaborative ventures. Yeah. Now, coming to introduce our two eminent speakers today, we will start with Mr. Kashiwagi. Kashiwagi has been in some of the largest companies of Japan, starting from NTT. NTT is like an AT&T of USA, Nippon Telecom and Telegraph Limited. He was the director for US operations. That is where I met him almost 14, 15 years back. And then he has been closely associated. He has got many other large companies he has been working. Now he is more working towards enhancing, industrial entrepreneurs and MSMEs, whatever we call in India. And he will talk about his forays into Japan and Indian relationship. Our friend, Mr. MRRanganathan, is a very, very big, Indo-Japanese doyen. Anybody saying Japan, India means they say, oh, Mr. Ranganathan is a man whom one should be in touch. He's also got some prestigious award from Japan Empress Award. So I would like both the speakers to talk 5 minutes about themselves. First, Mr. Kashiwagi, then Mr. Ranganathan, so that I don't duplicate it because time is short. The second thing, both have got some very good presentation. That will be there. Then we have a concluding again talk by both of the speakers. Then I will formally conclude the event. So trying to invite Mr. Kashiwagi. Can you please say a few?
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Sekhar. I'm very much honored to be here this afternoon. So as Dr. Sekhar introduced, I'm Japanese, born and grew up in Japan, even though I spent several years in the US. I graduated from University of Tokyo, followed by a Master of Business Administration acquisition in UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles, United States. And also, as introduced, spent 25 years plus in one of the largest ICT telco entity, Nippon Telegraph and Telephone. And after that, I quit, peace-free from entity group and joined American-based companies, Japan head, starting from Polycom, then Nasdaq-listed companies, followed by Colt, which is another big, large financial groups telco. Now I'm supporting a lot of Japanese startups, mostly in the ICT sectors because of my background from various aspects like human resources, HR, sales initiatives, intellectual properties. If conditions meet, we will make a small, angel investment, etc. And today I'm gonna make a little, small presentations highlighting Japan, India, possibility. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you for the short, sweet, and very informative introduction. Now I have Mr. Ranganathan. A lot of things are being expected from Mr. Ranganathan. He is a man who, puts the real additive between India and Japan And he has been in the line for last more than 40 years, I heard, and which is really commendable. Mr. Ranganathan, please.
Thank you, Dr. Sekhar. When you say a lot of things are expected, that sends jitters through your back spine, because I do not know. Yeah. My name is Ranganathan. I'm basically a civil engineer, passed out of College of Engineering, Guindy, which has got 225 years of history, out of which I share about 60 years. I passed out in 66, now almost I'm going to be 6 years after I passed out of the college. I'm now 77. I worked as a civil engineer with the Madras Port Trust. Then I took over as a manager training. Then 2 years I worked with Governor Virat. My first love and journey started with Japan. In 1972, when many people were not studying Japanese, I started studying Japanese in 1969.
Okay.
And then came back from Japan and started a Japanese language school. Today, ABK AOTS Dosokai. The name is big. Dosokai means Alumni Association. It's a purely NGO voluntary organization. And it is built by people who have been to Japan for training, either managerial or engineering. And we have started this. We are one of the largest, the biggest Japanese language school in South India. All the facilities we have, even during the pandemic, we had 1,056 students who have been learning Japanese over the internet. And we have something like 60 teachers who are teaching with us, 4 Japanese, native Japanese also. Well, we have been making a small contribution, whatever is possible from our end. And like what you said, I was lucky enough to be one of the few to receive a Japanese Emperor's Award, a couple of more awards. But I will only say that I was the representative of all the boys and girls who stood behind me, because each one of them could not be given their thing. Award was given to me. I am a recipient of these awards on behalf of my team. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'll again congratulate you for that award, and then go over to our friend, Mr. Kashiwagi. Now you can have your presentation.
Okay.
About 15 minutes is okay for you?
Okay, sure. Can you see?
Yeah, we can see. We can see.
Okay. So I'm going to highlight how Indo-Japan can collaborate down the road, ending up to the better world. But let me do a quick, interesting comparisons that I witnessed these days. Started with Japan, UK government's decisions. Couple of weeks ago.
Kashiwagi, can you reduce the size just by one?
Sure.
Just
How
one.
about this?
Oh,
More?
yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah, this is good.
Okay. So UK, the couple of weeks ago, decided to invite, allowed more than 60,000 soccer fans in the soccer stadium to see UEFA match. That time, based on Nikkei newspaper, July 8th, 48.1% is being infected by COVID-19 per 100,000 populations. Because Japan is almost twice larger in population than the UK, I make it head to apple to apple, to be fair. So that is per 100,000 populations. Now Japan, a couple of weeks ago, it was 1.8% newly infected by COVID-19 per day, per 100,000 population, same with the UK. So that is 1/30 or something like that, almost 1/30, something like that. Now, Japan's cabinet decided after long heated discussions not to allow audiences in Tokyo Olympic Games. Right now it's going on, as you know. except a minor local stadium, one or two. But as you know, most of games are being held in Tokyo metropolitan areas. So you can say Japan decided not to allow any audiences in Olympic Games. So I was a little bit shocked because, audiences are, always a necessity to make athletes heated play. But anyway, I'm not trying to say which is good or bad, which is right or wrong. I just make a comparison that how people, how government, how countries can be different based on each situations. You can call it Japan is very cautious, while UK is maybe very bold. Now, another little bit qualitative comparisons between Japanese and Chinese from, maybe for most Indians people or from outside look, maybe sometimes difficult to tell Japanese from Chinese. Even for Japanese, before COVID-19, we had, tons of, travelers from China, right? Every day. Sometimes for Japanese, it's difficult to tell, whether he, she is Japanese or, Chinese. But a couple of, items, couple of, judgment you can make. Voice, you see, Japanese voice, relatively speaking, small and low-key, but Chinese, loud, very loud. You can tell where Chinese is, Negotiation, well, of course, besides business scenes, Japanese do negotiate, but casual, ordinary, ordinary people in ordinary scenes, people don't negotiate so often. At supermarket, department stores, restaurants, they seldom negotiate. While Chinese, of course, always, almost always, right? They don't like, prices are high, so they want to discount it lower. So negotiation, for Japanese, it's a seldom. Chinese always, every day things. Next one, me's. You see, meism a little bit subtle, points. Me's, I would say, always, try to be different from others. Me, I. Right? Obviously, Japanese, you can observe Japanese are not strong in meism. You can say they are weak in meism. While Chinese, of course, well, for this side, judge point, Anglo-Saxon people as well, of course, Indians as well. Chinese are strong in meism. They don't care other people. Meism is strong. So similar aspects, considerations to others. Previous show exactly shows that no one doubt about, or no one argue about Japanese pay great consideration to others. While Chinese, sometimes I feel that they don't pay too much attention to others, right? So for Japanese, for example, or from outside look, sometimes maybe difficult to tell Indians from maybe, other countries, neighbors like Pakistan, Sri Lanka people, or Nepalian, but of course they are so different, right? So is Japanese and Chinese. So it's a qualitative comparison, but I think it's very interesting to know that people, even same regions, people, nations are so different. Now, let me go to India, Japan, how we can further collaborate, can leverage the differences. Again, let me start with a little bit of a comparison. This is also qualitative and not a precise, comparison with the data. but a couple of aspects like a business priority, logic, emotional balance, presentation, and a superficial equality. Of course, India, I observed that in business priority, they think speed is most important, very important, at least, very, very important. While Japanese, they acknowledge that speed is also important, but completeness is also something that they can never, ever, neglect. So quite interesting, a comparison. For example, if they start to do a joint business, Indian just want to start today, right? But the Japanese wants to have a couple of months at least to improve the quality and the planning better, etc. You can see two asterisks point with the underline. This happened a month ago. One of the prime minister's senior advisor was forced to resign due to this comment 1 month ago. If Japan canceled the Olympic game with this COVID-19 domestic situations, other countries will laugh at us. So the number is nothing. So let's continue the preparation. Let's invite the audience, etc. But this comment via SNS was extremely criticized, and finally the government was forced to make him resign. So this shows the next point: logic, emotion, balance. Japanese, I think, whether in an ordinary life or business scenes, they pay quite a deal to emotional aspects. They know that the logic is very important, but they also pay more attention to emotional stuffs. While Indians can be more logic, and of course, they can pay attention to emotional things, but especially in business, but also in daily life, they can be very logic from my aspects. I observe that. Now, presentation. This is too much symbolic, sorry about that, but the Indian as a presentation usually be long, while Japanese one is very short. One interesting thing is that in an international conference, chairman's tough job is how to stop Indians speak and how to make Japanese speak up. So this symbolizes presentations, lengths, etc. Last one, superficial equality. Superficial, this is a little bit subtle, so it may not be a right expression. What I'm trying to say is, in the metropolitan Tokyo, for example, in the same restaurant, whether it can be Chinese restaurant, Italian restaurant, or domestic Japanese restaurants, curry chains, pasta chains, it can be very common. It can be very common that guy with 50 million US asset and the guy with no asset, maybe monthly income, maybe $1,000 US or something, can easily have a similar menu, lunch or dinner in the same restaurants. And I don't think this situation doesn't happen in India. In Japan, super rich people have no pressure about something like they should go to extremely fancy restaurant. They should go to drink only in Roppongi areas. They have no pressure at all. So they can go wherever, and sometimes not necessarily expensive restaurant, not isolated areas. There are tons of nice and oishi restaurants, everywhere in Tokyo. So that happens. Again, superficial equality may not be the right expression, but what I want to say is something like that. Okay. Now, a little bit, academic space, suitable collaboration business areas for Japan and India. I think, start with the infrastructure areas like nationwide express train systems, highway systems, public bus transportation systems, etc. You know that the Shinkansen is a most famous super express, train system in the world, in Japan, of course. Japan highway system is also good. Maybe the challenge is that the price competitiveness. For example, Chinese super express is coming up. They land a lot. I mean, they land everything from Japan system, but you can think that, yes, price competitiveness, they may be more price competitive, right? So those are the challenge for Japanese companies. Manufacturing, no doubt about it, this is a good areas that both can, contribute each other. You can think about Suzuki Motors 50, 60 years ago, they started manufacturing reasonably priced, good quality cars, and it is, right? Introduced a complete process and the Kaizen system, which is very famous for Toyota Motors, #1 car maker in the world. Maybe to learn a lot, introduce, import a lot of Japanese Kaizen systems. The challenge is also, again, employee education. The first opening video shows, education system is a foundations for a lot of business opportunities. So I think those are the things that we need to look at. The third one, senior related business. This is just because we are fast runner in aging. Japan is the fastest aging country without doubt, no competition right now. Some countries are following, but so there are lots of areas that you can learn from senior business, nursing business for senior people. Again, this is also employee education is a key areas. I will come back. Agriculture. Japan is 1/10 of land size from comparing with India. But agriculture-focused ICT is good and rich areas that we improved a lot in the last 10, 20 years. Generally speaking, of course, India is very good in ICT, but you have a huge heat and dry land, so we may be able to help huge Indian farming land, heat and dry, to fertile one with a lot of new technology, including water technologies, etc. Of course, it will take a long time, doesn't get result in a couple of years, it will take 10, 20, 30 years or more, right? The last one, omotenashi. Japanese delicate and sensitive customer services. I hope right now it's happening in Tokyo Olympic Games to athletes and to administrative people. But omotenashi can work everywhere, especially if the country is more and more, economic successfully, more and more demand as economy grows. Yes. We can start with premier services. We call it human software. This is an area that Japan is very strong. We should pay reasonable attention to culture, because each country has a important culture. We cannot neglect that. Again, price competitiveness is something the Japanese side should pay attention. So those 4 or 5 areas, not a very new stuffs, but probably quite a good, area of collaborations, I think. Last one, tips for doing business with Japanese. You Indian people need to speak slowly. whether it's English or Japanese or Hindi, right? You cannot speak too fast like a super Brit Express, right? Do not speak too long at one time, right? The interesting story about the international conference, maybe Japanese may be a little bit stunned if you start to speak 30 minutes, aggressive talks without interruptions. So do not speak too long at one time, okay? Be punctual. This is often the case that already my Indian friends are hearing a lot, and I know that, but try not to be late more than 10 minutes for the appointment, especially with Japanese. If I'm speaking to young, fresh from college guys, I would say, hey, for the business appointment, never ever be late. Always try to be 10, 15 minutes before the appointment. But, Japanese business people have a little more allowance for non-Japanese sector people. So, but, please do not show up in the, appointment place 30 minutes, after the appointment. You cannot find Japanese partners anymore. Plan mid to long term. Please do not stick to profit within a short period of time, especially it's a long-term business like an infra business. Please do not plan to make a profit within 12 months or something like that, and especially Japanese tend to be, precise in the business planning. That necessarily means that, to make a profit takes a little bit longer than Indian standard. Lastly, please smile. Thank you very much. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
So nice, so precise, so short, so good.
Thank you very much.
I'm this being, of course, viewed by a lot of entrepreneurs. I'm sure this is simple, effective, advice. Come warning. Don't make them wait. They will not be there for you.
Okay.
So it's not only advice, it is something which people should take it as a warning that, which is very nice, actually. So, because people feel that, if you go somewhere, business will come from top and tomorrow you'll make profit, tomorrow you'll be billionaire, the unicorn. So the unicorns and exceptions, which is not something which many people, tend to know. And of course, there has to be certain steps being taken as an entrepreneur. There are certain expectations. And Japanese I have dealt with Japanese in a very big way. And they are really good for India. And Indians are highly respected by them. They are not seeing Indians in any way, in a negative way or any way in a differing way. And because their religion comes from here. Not only that, they are not one of the, of course, highly religious people, but they respect a human being. And Indians being intellectually good, and people like Ranganathan have got such a high amount of goodwill, which is earned, which will go a long way to sing. Now we are eagerly waiting for Mr. Ranganathan's presentation. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Kashiwagi-san, for your very beautiful, short and sweet. And I experienced every one of them in my 25 years doing business in Japan. Thank you. You brought me back my old days. Thank you, Dr. Sekhar and Dr. Akram, for inviting me today. I have a presentation, and I don't want to, my presentation is not short and sweet, like all Indians, like what Kashiwagi-san said. So let me not fail your expectations. I am here. Okay. My name is Ranganathan, and as you all know, I'm presently the chairman of ABK OTS Dosokai.
And a few words from Japanese also will be welcome, even though we may or may not.
Yeah, I may say that at the end of
the end, maybe. Whichever way you feel comfortable.
Kashiwagi-san, yeah. Sekhar-sanが頼んでるから、じゃあどうぞよろしくお願いします。
こちらこそ、beautiful Japanese.
Yeah, to grace the occasion. Hosted Abe-san's maternal grandfather, the then Prime Minister of Japan, Kishi, in New Delhi in 1957. Nehru introduced Kishi saying in a public reception, "This is the Prime Minister of Japan, a country I hold in greatest esteem." It is rare for a Japanese Prime Minister to be felicitated in such a way at a public rally, that too by a leader like Prime Minister of that stature. Japan and India, when we're going to talk about today's COVID, cannot be just talked without the previous history. So I want to bring few of the points that will keep us together. Japan and India relations have traditionally been very strong as a result of Buddhism, which spread indirectly from India to Japan via China and Korea. The Kaigan ceremony, the opening of the eye of the Daibutsu, the huge statue of Buddha in Nara Todaiji temple, by painting the black of the eye, otherwise putting Atma into the statue, was performed by Bodhisena, a priest from South India, who went to Japan on the invitation of Emperor Shomu through, again, China, and performed the ceremony in the presence of the emperor in 1743, according to Shokun Yongi records. Of course, Hinduism and Japanese native religion Shinto have same belief in gods or kami, and many Indian gods also find their place among Japanese gods. Professor Ono and Professor Karashima have carried out their research and wrote Tamil, which bears nearly 90+% of similarity with Japanese, could be the origin of Japanese language. The trade between Japan and India existed as early as 13th century, when the Indian textile, later by 15th century, Indian calico, what they call as sarasa in Japanese, made, because it is made in Calicut, it is called as calico, and was nothing other than a plain cotton fabric used as a base cloth for dyeing and printing, which was developed in India 2000 years ago. And the dyed material, Kalamkari, Masulipatinam, found their way into Kyoto through European traders, which are used in the Goen Matsuri. Goen Matsuri, you have the floats which are going, as the folding screens at the back, they use the sarasa, and also sarasa was used in kimono and obi. Japanese using plant-based dyeing techniques were greatly impressed with this Indian calico. Sarasa was tailored with a small short-sleeved kasedo, the inner garment, in line with the social custom of those days, which is against displaying one's wealth in public, as calico kasoda cost more than the outer kimono. You know, Subhash Chandra Bose, who aimed to end the British rule in India through military means, used Japanese sponsorship to form the Azad Hind Army. At the International Military Tribunal at Paris, Indian Justice Radha Binod Pal became famous by dissenting judgment in favor of Japan. This becomes a symbol of Japan and India close ties. The Association of Overseas Technical Scholarship, AOTS, which I run the Alumni Association here, was started in the MITI, which has now become METI, and AOTS name was also changed to Association for Overseas Technical Cooperation Sustainable Partnership, as globally 74 alumni associations in 44 countries, and I started the one in Tamil Nadu. The number of Japanese experts sent to overseas from AOTS was 10,000 plus, and AOTS trained between 1959 and 2019 in Japan nearly 2 lakh people, and outside Japan again 2 lakh people. Number of Indians trained in Japan is nearly 13,000 plus, and number of Indians trained in India is 19,000 plus through AOTS. Now, AOTS, if you see, has got a project coordination now called the JIM and JEC project. Many Japanese companies in India are not able to recruit sufficiently high quality shop floor leaders and engineers, which causes significant challenges to their business development. Therefore, Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, METI of Japan, and Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, India, signed a memorandum of cooperation in November 2016 to facilitate the projects to train 30,000 shop floor leaders and engineers through internship to the Japanese standards in the next 10 years under the 2 projects called Japan-India Institute of Manufacturing, JIM, which is connecting Made in India and also Skill India of Modinomics, and Japanese endowment courses, which is called JEC, which is connecting Japanese industry and local in the same region educational institution. AOTS coordinates, and the entire internship training is financially supported by government of Japan now. Of course, during COVID, it went through a small, slow pace, but again, it's picking up. The Japan-India Association was established in 1903 to promote India-Japan friendship. During World War II, the association supported Indian independence movement. The war ended, the association was disbanded by the Allied forces for reasons for having supported the Indian independence movement. On August 15, 1947, Japan was one of the first few nations to recognize sovereign India. After India gained independence, the association changed their name to Japan-India Economic Association. In 1952, the association restored the name Japan-India Association. My own ABK Dosokai signed a memorandum of cooperation with Japan-India Association in the presence of Prime Minister Mori and also Irabayashi, the then ambassador of Japan to India. Japan-India signed a peace treaty establishing official diplomatic relations on 28 April 1952. As India refused to attend the 1951 San Francisco Peace Conference because limitation imposed upon Japan during the conference. 2002 was the 50th year of this event that was celebrated in India with the release of postal stamp by both countries. Look at the very beautiful Kathakali and Kabuki stamp released by the Indian Postal Department, Taj Mahal by the Japan. And 2007 was the Indo-Japan Friendship Year. And of course, Japan released a very beautiful stamp. The Indian Postal Authorities missed this occasion. JETRO, the Japan External Trade Organization to promote mutual trade and investment between Japan and other countries, was established in 1958 to promote Japanese exports abroad, with focus in the 21st century, and has shifted towards promoting foreign direct investment into Japan and helping Japanese SME firms maximize their global export potential. We have been suggesting to JETRO also and others that the Japanese SME owners who are becoming older and who do not find the next generation takeover can tie up with the Indian SMEs using the Indian skills and also their know-how. The Japanese can bring in their know-how, technology, and together we can tap the market in India as well as in Europe or Africa. Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, established in October 2003 to contribute to the promotion of international cooperation and for development of Japanese and global economy by supporting socio-economic development. The Mumbai-Ahmedabad bullet train and the metro projects in major cities are noteworthy under this scheme. And Japan's ODA to India started in 1958 when concessionary ODA loan of 18 billion Japanese cents was extended to supplement the implementation of the second 5-year plan as at the request of Indian Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. India was the first recipient in the world of Japanese ODA loan. Since then, over 5,730 billion Japanese cents, which is equivalent to 3,50,000 crores of Indian rupees. ODA loan was committed to us. And JICA under their scheme has trained 8,500 Indian personnel so far under the training program. And also they have sent 8,800 Japanese experts to India to train people in India. There are numerous ways by which JICA was helping India is shown in this slide. And JETRO, the Embassy and Consulate General of Japan offices in India in different places, and JETRO have compiled with the support of Japanese Chamber of Commerce and Industry a list of Japanese companies in India. Please kindly look at the map, which shows the current number of Japanese industry in India as on 2020. The number of Japanese companies registered in India is 1,455, same as 2019. Whereas the number of Japanese businesses established in India has come down by 1.5% compared to 2019 by 74 establishments. After Meiji Restaurant through Meiji period, Japan's textiles formed a major component of their export, and they needed cotton. India was the largest supplier of cotton to Japan, and for this supply line, Shibusawa and J.N. Tata established Yusen Kaisha shipping service in Kobe and Bombay. Indo-Japan Trade Agreement 1934 was signed in Delhi and renewed once in 3 years. In August 2000, during the visit of Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihiro Mori to India, Japan and India agreed to establish Japan-India Global Partnership in the 21st century between Prime Ministers of both these countries. Indian Prime Minister Vajpayee visited Japan in December 2001. Japan-India Joint Declaration was issued to be followed with many more such joint declarations for strategic and economic relations with both the prime ministers. India and Japan on September 2017 signed an open sky agreement under which their airlines can operate unlimited number of flights between the two countries. 2017, Prime Minister Modi and Shinzo Abe signed 15 agreements to intensify the ties between India and Japan, the range of special strategic and global partnership. In October 2018, following talks with Prime Minister Abe, Prime Minister Modi said Japan investors have announced they would invest $2.5 billion in India, and both agreed to form a digital partnership in the case of cyberspace, health, defense, ocean to space, and almost in every field strengthening partnership. They also signed 6 agreements, including one on the high-speed rail project, a 50 to 60 years loan of 88,000 crore Indian rupees to be given to India, and also a naval cooperation, and have a 2+2 dialogue between foreign defense ministers. India has been regular exporter of iron ore to Japanese steel mills since 1963, renewed in 2018. A total of 5.5 million ton per annum of high-grade iron ore export was allowed. Now, there is a shift in Japanese demographic. For the next several years, Japan population is expected to steadily drop from 125.7 million in 2020 to only 95 million in 2050, forcing Japan to open its doors to more foreign workers, resulting in many cultural and traditional practices of Japanese society to get diluted. Japanese government estimates that over half of all women born in 1990 will not stay married to the age of 50. About 25% may never marry, and 35% of them will have never babies. That means that over half the women of this birth group will not have grandchildren. If the current pattern continues, each generation will be 35% smaller than the previous one. There is a decline in birth rate, and also the Japanese existing population is living longer. In general, the country has the healthiest population in the world and one of the longest life expectancies. Life expectancy in Japan is projected to increase from 86 to 90% for women and 79 to 84 for men by 2055. Now, if you look at this graph made by United Nations, there are 2 arrows, blue and red. They show Japan on one end and India on the other end. From 2020 onwards, India will be the country with the lowest percentage of elderly population in the age of 60 and 50. By 2050, you can see only 35 to 36% of Japanese population will be available, and then India at the age of 60 plus. So India will be the country to supply adequate manpower to Japan when they need. And the only key for this will be Japanese language. Japanese language is the 13th most spoken language globally and is the 6th largest on the internet according to W3 Text, and spoken around by 130 million people globally. The Japan Foundation was established in October 1972 as a special legal entity supervised by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and October 2003 it was recognized as an incorporated administrative agency. Based on the government endowment of 78 billion yen, the activities of Japan Foundation are focused on promoting Japanese language, culture, and conduct Japanese language proficiency tests. With the demographic shift, current COVID situation, there is an urgent need for young talents for jobs in Japan from outside Japan with Japanese skills, and which makes JLPT very, very important. There is a pressure to promote Japanese language education in India by experienced and qualified teachers, professional institutions, universities to meet the Japanese industry needs. Japan Foundation opened its office in New Delhi in 1993. Today, JLPT Japanese Language Proficiency Test organized by Japan Foundation is organized in every corner of the globe, in the world, and the students can take the JLPT test in 8 cities in India twice a year on the first Sunday in July and December. Japan Foundation has recognized 5 Japanese teaching institutions in India under the Sakura network. And I am very happy and proud to say our institution is the only one out of the 5 to be recognized in South India and one of the 5 in India. In Japan, IT, manufacturing, nursing, old age caregiving, farm workers are in need. JLPT, Japanese language proficiency test, and also NAT, Nihongo test, have 5 levels starting from the lowest N5 or Q5. For a job in Japan, it is preferred to have a N2, the 4th level, or 3rd level N3 with good conversation ability. Those who pass JLPT N1 receive 15 points, N2 10 points under the government's point-based preferential immigration treatment system of highly skilled foreign professionals. A total of 70 points or higher receive the preferential treatment at immigration. Learning hours for N5 150 hours, N4 150 hours, N3 300 hours, N2 600 hours, and 900 hours are needed. We organized the JLPT and the 8 centers, and we had a meeting very recently with Japan Foundation to discuss the situation of JLPT with reference to COVID situation, because of which July and December 2020, July 2021 tests were cancelled. It was pointed out at that meeting that because the cancellation of 3 JLPT tests due to COVID consecutively, the employment opportunity of Indian engineers and Indian youngsters studying in Japanese and taking the proficiency test have been pushed back by 10 years. A JLPT N1 certificate is required for our medical practitioners licensed overseas who want to take a Japan's national exam for medical practitioner and other medical professions support services for overseas nursing school graduates, for assistant nurses in prefecture. One of the requirements of the jobs, as I told you, is N3 or higher, the good spoken Japanese. In JLPT testing system was built on not on strong conversational proficiency. JAS has created books that can adequately supplement this, and along with the first 2 levels N5 and N4, these books help us to build good conversation skills along with the reading, writing, vocabulary that are needed for JLPT. With the current change in demography in Japan, Indian young skills will be in great demand. I wish to repeat again, proficient Japanese will be the differentiator for a winner. During the Indo-Japan Summit held in 14th December 2017, a Japan-India joint statement was signed in the field of Japanese language education in India to establish Japanese language certificate courses in 100 universities, bar colleges, bar institutions, and to train 1,000 Japanese language teachers within 5 years who will work in Indian universities. In 1992, Government of India, seeing the opportunity in Japanese IT market, which started opening for Indian IT engineers, was till then were looking only at the US market, asked FOI, Federation of the AOT Alumni Association, New Delhi office, to develop a government-funded 3 years computer Japanese program for MCA students. And all who are on completion of the course, they were all employed by IT companies. Instead, Government of India, though initially they said they will be funding it, they cancelled this and said people who pass the JLPT, they will be reimbursed with their thing. But the private companies, they offered them increments and also, so I'm just saying, and also their promotion. This is very important for the jail. The impact of COVID on Japanese education in India is that the classes and teaching material have to be retuned to choose online teaching by most of the language institutions. Many of the teachers' training will also have to be reframed to suit the online teaching. Students of different parts in the globe are now reached very easily, and they are able to be taught from India itself. And mock tests have come up. The Japan Union of Scientists and Engineers, they're the ones who are authorized to offer this Deming Prize. Mahindra's, the world's first tractor manufacturer, was the one to win the Japan Quality Medal JQM. In 1998, Sundaram Clayton, the Tamil Nadu, was the first Indian company to get the Deming Prize, and LG Equipment Coimbatore was the first industrial air compressor manufacturer outside Japan to win this award in 2019. Deming Prize is the longest running and very prestigious, one of the highest awards on TQM in the world, given by JUSE, Japan Union of Scientists. From 1998 to 2019, 27 Indian companies have received the Deming Award, which is the highest outside Japan. Japan-India bilateral trade, the volume of trade between the two countries has increased. India was the 21st largest trading partner in Japan, Japan was the 12th largest trading partner of India in 2019. Japan was the 4th largest investor for India in 2019. The bilateral trade between Japan and India fell to 15.4 billion US dollar in 2021 from about 17 billion in the previous final year, maybe due to COVID. The trade balance is in favor of Japan. Japan and India signed a bilateral free trade agreement that would abolish duties for more than 90% of trade for 10 years. The Japanese government said the deal would eliminate tariff for 90% of Japanese exports to India, such as electric appliances, and 97% of imports from India until 2021. Japan is the 5th largest investor in Indian economy, with cumulative foreign direct investment inflows of $34.5 billion, and in the April 2000 to December 2020 period, according to the 7% of total FDI inflows into India at the same period. Some of the prominent Japanese investments in India include Suzuki, Uniqlo, Mitsubishi, and Mitsui and Honda. Similarly, TCS, HCL, Voya, SBI, Pharma, they are there. India sought the review of 2011 India-Japan Comprehensive Economic Partnership CPA to improve the market access for Indian goods and check the growing bilateral trade imbalance. However, Japan was not for the full-fledged revision, but has proposed correction within the existing framework. And this table gives you the export and also the economic assistance. In a recent summit meeting, it was decided the synergies of Indian demographic dividend and Japan's capital and technology to realize true potential of Japan-India economic partnership. In this agreement, bilateral swap arrangement of $75 billion for launching Japan-India digital partnership and other cooperation and initiatives were included. There is the project for establishing core universities for internationalization, also referred to as Global 30 or G30, aims to create an environment that makes it easier for international students study in Japan. The project for the Japan study for promotion of science, 13 top universities have included in the G30 program. Japanese government has also decided various financial aid options to go hand in hand with the international program on Japanese universities. And today, the number of job opportunities opening for blue-collar workers also. The people appearing for NAT exam once in 2 months with the Technical Intern Training Program, TITP for India. The language schools also in Japan are also actively trying to Indian students come there. Japanese universities welcome Indian students, have many teachers from the West, and Japanese teachers can also speak and teach English. And Japanese universities are not as expensive as the universities in the West, which I can very well certify because my granddaughter herself graduated out of a Japanese university. Now, G30 universities offer courses in English at undergraduate, graduate, and research levels. Many of them also offer scholarship. There are various industry-sponsored scholarships are also available. Japanese government offered Mombu Kagakusho MEX scholarship, which is highly in demand, highly competitive, and offered through the embassy. Till COVID, we also conducted Japan Educational Fair in India, coordinated by Tokyo University Delhi office, along with local partners. Post-COVID, online education fair with virtual tour is being conducted. Job after graduation is not very difficult. With work visa, as campus recruitment takes place every year, the recruiting freshers. And interestingly, the first batch of students taking international joint MTech degree in food sciences and technology in IIT Guwahati. They are graduating this year. Candidate with a very high gate score, joined this program in 2019 at IIT Guwahati. A similar program exists at the Gifu University also for Japanese students. The cultural values of both India and Japan have been duly accommodated and respected to impart the integrity and research of the students. As on May 1, 2018, a total of 137,480 foreign students have enrolled in the Japanese junior college, universities, graduate school. Out of this, nearly 89.4% are from Asia. And if you look at this table, you will see India is very much down below, with only 0.6% of Indian students taking up studying in Japanese universities. Now, if you look at this thing, there is a graph of Indian students. This survey was made in 2020 by the Japan Student Service Organization. You can suddenly see there is a dip after 2019 when you go towards 2020. That's because of the COVID situation. The people who are getting into the Japanese university, the numbers have got decreased. But what the Japanese say, whatever wave that goes down will never keeps on going down. A wave that goes down has to go up. That means we hope after this will go. Japanese also say nana kurobi hachiuki. That means if you fall 7 times, you have to get up 8 times. So we feel that whatever has happened due to COVID will be only nana kurobi hachiuki, very short. And if you look at the foreign residents in Japan, which is my last slide, the statistics foreign residents in Japan shows number increasing surely and steadily. India has been growing slowly in recent years. The number of Indian engineers moving to Japan has been increasing. As a matter of fact, IITians who were earlier going towards the US are also moving into Japan to join the Japanese industry. Japan has been facing harsh reality of population aging rapidly and birth rate declining. Foreigners at present account only for 2% of Japan's labor market. India, with its long relationship with Japan in many fields, and with its world-class education system, appropriate Japanese language education, which is catching up in India, and certification like JLPT, NAT, can offer its young talent and skills to Japan at the needed hour which Japan needs, and we can offer that now. Thank you all very much. I'm sorry if I have exceeded my time.
No. Thank you so much. So nice, so much information, so much content, and so much of things which can be done together. Now, just before concluding, I'll give a 2-minute post review and then request both of you to have the last say before formally closing. So one thing which comes out very, very clearly in what has been very graphically presented by Mr. Ranganathan, and certain advices and certain actual positioning on the ground given by our friend Kashiwagi, is that there are huge possibilities between the two countries. Language is one good thing which we have to know, because Indians are good in any language. Fortunately, that advantage Indians have got. You name the language, Indians will be there. And second is the versatility of an Indian. Indian, wherever he goes, he or she goes, they first give weightage to the land which gives them their bread, and then they give full weightage to the country. They are not one of those, like few countries which we may not name, where wherever they go, they only think of their country. Indians are not like that. So Indians being welcome, but specifically we should go with whatever our friend has advised. We should not be generalists. We should not say anything I will do, anything you tell me I will listen. I will get back to you. I will get myself trained, which will not work in Japanese. In Japanese, we have to be very specific. We have to be very clear-cut in our thoughts. We have to know what they want, and then the world is yours. So, and other parameter which all of us know, which was very nicely highlighted by Ranganathan, the population. India produces almost 20 million new Indians every year. 20 million. Okay. So, which is something which India cannot stop. India has no today provision of this explosion thing stopping. Just from Kashiwagi's view, in India, the moment anybody becomes around 20, 21, 22, people all start looking out for their wedding. The moment the wedding is over, maybe at an average age of 25, 26, people will ask her, where is the good news? Good news is, where is this child? And this goes on independent of the language, race, religion, place, anything. And it is going to continue. That is what is giving us the fertility of the land and fertility of the place and climate. It makes things good. Indians do not have a problem of too many divorces and too many. They are there. Even though divorces and other things have started. But, and even if they divorce, they take care of the children, they take care of many these things. They are there to, that human portion of Indians are extremely good, which of course, I also know that Japanese family life is really good. It is not like some of the Western, where in Western, it is so surprising. They say almost 60% is divorce, which is very, very sad. So many people are staying with somebody who is neither their father nor their mother, but they are there, which is very, very rare in India. And some are little more in Japan. But The other portion of 35% may not even get married, or so many people may not have a child, which is a thing which I feel Japan should improve. Because after all, some religion we have given you, so we should not, that portion has to be, Indians can teach them as much as Japanese can teach Indians. And last portion of this thing is, let us make a programmed approach for taking care of the needs of Japan and taking advantage of the thing which we can give. Now, whenever an Indian goes, in many of my talks I say, when an Indian goes abroad, I am seeing Indian as a supercomputer going. A very intelligent person is more than a supercomputer. Let us not go on this thing of I beg and you give, or you beg and I give. You need us, we go. And we go with whatever you require. Same way when you give because we require you. We require some technology, we require some training, we require something that comes to India. So with that good bilateral understanding, if we go, there's a huge domain for the next 50 years to 100 years. Even in my own secure governance, which I presented 2 slides, I talk of 200 years of prosperity for human beings. That is what is the objective of secure governance. A self-sustained growth of, especially something like India, where there is a huge problem, because India got independence as a 350 million country, and India put 850 million people in the last 70 years, and which is going to go in another 200 years. When I am talking so graphically, in 200 years, whole world population will be India's population, whether we like it or no. So we have to plan what we should do, how we should tie up with whichever country which is there, and how we can do. And today, with a healthy relation, a healthy political situation, and a healthy technological situation, and a healthy human situation, we both have to gain. So with that, I will get my this thing, except for formally end it. I would request Mr. Kashiwagi to give a 1-2 minute his concluding remark. Same thing with Mr. Ranganathan.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Sekhar. So this is a great opportunity for me to open up my interesting insights through things, as well as guest speakers make a very precise, very insightful, comprehensive presentations, including along the history of Japan and India. You see, as I show, and as shown by other people, Japan and India are so different, and so different. That's why we like each other, right? That's the same with Japan and US, and US and India. And Indian people contributed a lot in the past 10, 20 years in US IT, space. Now it's next destination is to Japan for Indian smart people to look at, and we have a lot of complementary spaces that can go a long way down the road. So I very much hope for further development of Japan, India down the road. Thank you very much, Dr. Sekhar.
Thank you. Yes, and another before Mr. Ranganathan comes, as nothing can stop in today's case, a Indo-Japanese collaborative talk without saying 2-3 sentences about Olympics, which is going on. As we all know, that Olympics is going on in full stream the last 1 week in Japan, and it has taken the full liberty of conducting Olympics in such a challenging time. And in that, of course, we are also fortunate that in our own Web Summit, in the second month of Web Summit, India's only Olympic gold winner called Abhinav Bindra, he had come, and he has been a big, proud presenter of his thoughts on the way sports can go between India and, of course, as India, because India has to grow in sports by themselves. And in that also we can work together. I mean, sports also can be an industry today, because it is no more a sports is an individual affair. There also we can see how we can collaborate. Now with that, I would like to have the last concluding talk from Mr. Ranganathan before I formally close the session. Mr. Ranganathan.
Thank you, sir. Japan is right in front of us, has got a huge opportunity for Indians because of their demographic change. And also, like what the Kashiwagi-san said, it is time we go into the IT market for Japan. Now, we were in the IT market, we lost the IT market because by 1992, we were there in the Japanese IT market, by 1996, because not many people studied Japanese. The Japanese moved back to China because I was in that marketing in Japan. Now, the thing is, India should seriously look east and act east, and our youngsters must study Japanese. One good thing about JLPT, you don't have to pass the previous exam to go to the next level. So if COVID is going to stop you from having the exam, you study, you write to the third level. So that's what the Japanese want. You write the fourth level, what they want. The country needs, and we can be there. Now, it is my sincere advice and my request to all the youngsters. Today, you have to be there. To get a green card in US is not at all easy. Not at all easy. Because my daughter lives there. But today in Japan, if you stay there for 5 years, you get a permanent residency. There are a lot of boys and girls whom I have taken. They bought their houses. I know one of the boys I took in Osaka. He bought 8 houses. Okay, the banks give you so much loan, 0% interest. You can buy your own house. Living in Japan is not at all difficult. It's not expensive. Idli mavu, to write idli, that's available anywhere. You can get pani puri in street corner. So that is what Japan is today. So India should think Japan not as another country, but as a second home to be there. And last but not the least, Japanese people are extremely friendly. Most of the Japanese, they say Indians, oh, you are the people who have invented zero. Your mathematics is today. You know how many Japanese mothers want to put their children into the Indian school there because they think Indian school will teach better mathematics. So let us capitalize that. Be there as a good, real partner, not economic partner, not looking at FDI. We are going to be their intelligence partner. So we have to become their intelligence partner. And our youngsters must have a home there and be happy that they have contributed to this relationship. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Another only a small point to be added. You said Japanese itself is maybe coming from an Indian language. So maybe because of that, especially somebody like you can encourage people to learn Japanese quicker and in such a way that, it is a win-win situation for both. So with that, let me thank both the eminent speakers, Mr. Kashiwagi and Mr. Ranganathan. And we conclude today's Indo-Japanese conference and say that, yes, we have a long way to go. And we are having this is all on a positive win-win situation, and we will make things happen. Thank you so much, and namaste.
Thank you very much.
Namaste. Mata yoroshiku onegaishimasu.
よろしくお願いします。
なんとか連絡しますから。
はい、ありがとうございます。
はい。
失礼します。
That is very good. Good. Okay, to end in Japanese note. Yeah. Good day to you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Bye bye.